Well, what if you could bake an apple pie and get paid $500 for it? Tammy Allgood from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture is here, and she's going to tell us how to do that. And it starts with picking the perfect apples, right?
That's right. It's apple season, so we want to make sure we've got the perfect pie, and that means that we don't want apples that hold their shape versus fall apart.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
so let's start with some apples that you don't need to select for pies. They're excellent for cider, they're excellent for sauce, for jelly, but not for pies.
So these are the bad apples?
Yes, these are the bad apples.
Okay.
This is a Fuji, okay, which is very common. People see that all the time. Gala. Again, that's a very common apple that people see.
And they're great to eat.
Yes.
It's not in a pie.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And Golden Delicious and Red Delicious. So those four apples tend to have a lot of air in them, which extends the storage life for them, but it makes them collapse when they get baked.
Okay.
So we don't want those for pie.
So if you're doing applesauce, that's wonderful.
Excellent.
Just not in your pie.
That's right.
Okay.
Then we've got our good apples. Okay, so we're going to start with ambrosia, which is a wonderfully sweet, fine textured apple.
I've never heard of that one.
Fantastic.
Okay.
And then everybody's familiar with Granny Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one's pretty popular. This one is a new variety, and we grow this in Tennessee. It's called Jazz, and it's very unique. So when you see a Jazz, you will remember Jazz.
Okay.
This is a Mutsu, which is quite different from the Granny Smith in that it's got a little bit of a red blush to it. So that's kind of the characteristic of a Mutsu. And then Pink Lady is another good pie apple.
Okay.
So what I like to do is combine different apples into a pie.
Okay.
So instead of just having a tart taste from Granny Smith, you add all these other interesting elements in it, and that makes for a good combination pie.
Cool. All right, we're going to make your point here about bad apples versus good apples.
Right. Okay, so I took a Fuji and a Granny Smith, and I just cored them and put them in the oven for 30 minutes. You can see the Granny Smith held its shape. The Fuji is already starting to fall apart.
Wow.
And that's just after 30 minutes. You bake a pie for 45 to 55 minutes. So you can only imagine what that would look like in your pie. You would have mush in your pie.
Yeah, that's not as palatable
so
and good.
all apples are not all purpose, so don't treat them that way.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so for our contest, you can be as creative as you want to, and you get, if you're going to enter, make sure that you do a disposable container. We don't want to have to keep your container.
Right.
For
And we're
you.
talking about the Tennessee State Fair apple pie contest.
That's right. That's right. It's coming up. You can mail in your entry by the 7th, or you can go online and enter by the 13th.
Okay, so you send in your recipe.
That's right. And then you bring your pie the last Saturday of the fair. That morning, and then we start judging at noon, so you can stay and watch the judging,
fun.
talk to the judges afterward and see what they liked or didn't like about your particular pie. And it doesn't have to be too crust. I brought 2 examples here of pies. If you're intimidated by pie crust and don't like it doing that fancy stuff on the top, you can do a crumble on the top like these are, and just do pie crust on the bottom. So you can get as creative as you want to.
And the grand prize winner gets a blue ribbon, gets this
cutting
cutting
board, this apron, and of course $500. So
Not bad
that's
for a
pretty
day's
good,
baking, right?
Pretty good for an apple pie.
Yeah.
So,
what tips do you have for presentation?
okay, if you're going to garnish your pie, like for instance, if you were going to put a caramel drizzle on the top of your pie, do it before you enter the contest, because we can't go and garnish everyone's pie once the competition starts.
Okay.
So just bring it ready.
Make sure it looks appetizing and tastes delicious, and don't use the mushy
And
apples.
don't use mushy apples. That's
Okay.
right.
Some great tips, Tammy. Thanks so much.
Good to see you.
All right, good luck, everybody. For all the details on the Tennessee State Fair, which is happening September 9th through the 18th, and their apple pie contest, too, go to our website, newschannel5.com.